All right, let's jump right in. We're always looking for that secret sauce in education, right? That one thing that really moves the needle for students. Well, today we're diving into a concept that might just be it, a school's hidden superpower for unlocking success.
So let me ask you this. What do you think is the single most powerful factor inside a school that determines how well students do? Is it the budget, the class size, all the latest tech? The research, it turns out, points to something way more powerful, and it all happens inside the heads of the educators themselves. And just check this out. This quote from researchers Donahue, Hattie, and Eels is pretty staggering. They found that this thing called collective teacher efficacy has a bigger impact on student achievement than a student's family income, their own motivation, or even how involved their parents are. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's a total game changer.
Okay, so let's break this down. What exactly is this hidden superpower we're talking about?
So at its heart, collective teacher efficacy, or CTE for short, is the shared belief that a school's staff has, together as a single unit, that they can positively impact every single student who walks through their doors. You know, it's not about one superstar teacher saving the day. It's about the entire faculty believing, we've got this.
So, where does a belief that powerful come from? Well, according to education experts Hattie and Zierer, it's not magic. It has to be built. And the engine that builds it? It's collaboration. But not just any collaboration. We're talking purposeful, structured, and evidence-based teamwork.
And this slide right here shows the massive cultural shift that has to happen. CTE is what moves a school from an individual mindset, a building full of isolated islands, to a truly collective one. The language itself changes from my students to our students. And that tiny little pronoun switch, it signals a huge shift in responsibility and teamwork. A student who's struggling is no longer just one teacher's problem to figure out alone. They become a shared focus for the whole team. But look, you can't just throw teachers in a room and say, okay, collaborate, and expect this amazing culture to just appear. It has to be nurtured. So what are the conditions you need for that engine of collaboration to actually get up and running?
Well, the research points to these 5 key things. First, you need leaders who empower their teachers, not just manage them. You absolutely need a culture of trust where people feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to talk about what's not working. You need shared goals, dedicated time and structures for that collaboration, and, this one's critical, you need to actually see that the work you're doing together is making a difference. Those small wins are what build the belief.
And of all those conditions we just talked about, new research really doubles down on one of them as the foundation for everything else. A 2023 study by Machado found that in the highest performing schools, it wasn't just about having meeting time on the calendar. Nope, it was the human element. Trust and open dialogue were the most powerful ingredients for building that collective efficacy.
Okay, so knowing the conditions is one thing, but how does a school actually build all of this? Is there some kind of blueprint you can follow to intentionally create this culture of collaboration and efficacy?
It really is the million-dollar question for any school leader, isn't it? How do you go from talking about this stuff to actually making it happen, on purpose, not just by accident?
The answer is simple, but not easy. It's by design. It takes an intentional framework that makes collaboration and shared responsibility the default way of doing things, not just some optional extra.
And one of the clearest blueprints out there could be the International Baccalaureate, or IB, framework. Just look at how its features map directly onto those conditions for CTE we were just talking about. The IB literally requires collaborative structures for curriculum planning. Its authorization and evaluation cycles, which are these intense, multi-year school reviews, force everyone to work toward shared goals. Its focus on student inquiry gives teachers constant evidence of their impact. And it naturally builds distributed leadership through roles like program coordinators, who are teacher leaders, not just admins. It's collaboration built right into the system.
But hold on, it's not quite that simple. Just adopting a framework like the IB isn't a magic bullet. The way a school implements it matters a lot. Not all paths are going to lead to the same destination.
See, within the IB, you've got different programs for different age groups. And it turns out they seem to have very different potentials for building that truly school-wide, all-in collaborative culture.
And this chart breaks it down so clearly. The primary years program, the PYP, for the youngest kids, it probably has the strongest effect because collaboration is totally non-negotiable for the entire staff. But as you move up into the older grades, the potential impact can actually go down. The diploma program, or DP, in high school, for example, can sometimes end up being a siloed school within a school, which really limits its ability to build that efficacy across the whole faculty.
So this brings up a really common real-world situation. A lot of schools offer the full diploma program, but only for a select group of students, while everyone else might take just 1 or 2 individual DP courses. How does that choice end up shaping a school's culture?
Well, here you can see 2 totally different models. On one side, you've got the siloed full DP model, where all that amazing collaboration gets stuck inside a small, kind of elite group. But then you have the inclusive certificate model, where almost every student takes at least 1 DP class. Suddenly, way more teachers are pulled into that collaborative process, and you start breaking down those walls.
So what's the big takeaway? It's that this inclusive model has so much more power to build school-wide collective efficacy. Why? Because it gets more teachers in the game, it creates more chances for real collaboration, like teachers grading student work together to make sure they're being fair, and it lets school leaders frame the program not as some elite add-on, but as the very core of the school's identity for everyone.
And that really brings us to the final question to think about. In your school, or any school you know, is the collaboration that happens just a happy accident, or is it happening by design? The research is so clear on this. When schools are intentional about designing the structures and the culture that demand collaboration, they unlock their single most powerful asset, that shared collective belief that they can and will make a difference for every single student.